For years, I thought my biggest problem was my mindset. If only I could just think more positively, then surely everything would change. But mindset was never my problem. Direction was. I spent too much time up here, in my own head. And we know when we're constantly up here thinking about what we're going to do, maybe planning, visualizing, I'm not saying that's negative or a bad thing to do. But if you're anything like me, I spent far too much time throughout my 20s up here, thinking constantly. And the trap is, sometimes that feels like we are being productive. It feels like we're getting stuff done. But in matter of fact, we're just up in our own head all day long, thinking about what we are going to do. So when do things start to change? I think it's evidently clear that nothing will ever change in your life if you don't take action. We also know though, if we take action mindlessly, with no real direction, we can spend our whole life doing things we don't want to do. So I don't always think it's just about action. I think with the right thought process, the next thing or the next step is, where are we directing the energy? And it should go from your mind into the action you take each and every day. But we should use them together. Every now and then we should use the mind and think, okay, am I going in the right direction? Is my energy in the right things? Does this align with who I am? Those types of questions will allow you to keep refining the process. Because the same thing, if we think through a plan and then we get stuck in that plan and just take action, but it doesn't resonate with who we are, and we just stick at it because it was what we thought was right 6 months ago, well, that's not going to grow you or not going to take you on the right path. We need to keep thinking things through so we can learn and grow. A great example for me was when I used to do a lot of nutrition and fitness content. Now, don't get me wrong, I did take some action. The issue was that it wasn't aligned with who I am. Now, the content I do right now, I love it. I could talk about life all day long and I'm passionate about serving other people. The truth was, back then, I was also thinking about serving myself. I'm not saying that's a terrible thing, but if you make yourself and life all about what you can get out of it, you're going to fall short, because life is about what you have to offer the world. How can you serve other people? And that will change your perspective and it will give your life true meaning. So when I used to do my nutrition and fitness content, it wasn't that it was good or bad, it just wasn't who I really am. So then I would get to a certain point and I'd find I'm not aligned with what I'm doing. And then I'd just constantly be stuck in the thought process, oh, how do I do this different? The missing part was, at that point in my life, I didn't know who I was. So, and I would say it was more out of actually thinking but taking action that changes that. Because for many years I was stuck in my own head and I wasn't living from who I truly am. And that's why I was getting stuck. Why? Because overthinking feels safe. It's a false illusion, but it almost self-protects us. But when we take action, it's risky. You know, me taking action now, when I first come to do this and start creating again, I knew I could only be who I am. I can't be anyone else. And this is the thing with the nutrition and fitness. I was almost trying to figure out who I was and trying to be someone I wasn't. So that misalignment just always unsettled me. Whereas now, the next risk was, well, if you stand in the truth and be exactly who you are, people still won't like it. People will still judge you. But the difference is when you know who you are and you walk as that, don't get me wrong, it still feels a little bit like it's exposure. And it exposes really, what we're talking about here is, it exposes what we deeply fear. So just to touch on my own fears and what stopped me for a long time and getting stuck in my own head as well. I would have fears of things like, I don't feel good enough. Or I'd have fears along the lines of trying to protect my self-image. the fear of failure. And not so much if I fail myself, but, oh, what if the whole world sees that I'm a failure? Oh man, that's going to be the end of the world, right? I was listening to a podcast and it was Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. And they said along the lines of this, and I was like, look, when you look back, you realise, and the good thing about doing this for a long time, talking about acting and being in the public eye, I guess, they said, you realise people really don't give a shit about you. They don't. They don't care. Even if someone does something or says something about you, like, no one else really cares. And they said the older sort of you get, you realise, like, simply put, like, whatever you do in life, in a way, the vast majority of people don't really care. So you may as well do what you love, right? And what's the other option? The other option is to stay in your own head, stay comfortable, do the things that we've always done. But we miss the opportunity of living the life that was always meant for us. So my takeaway points from my own life, thinking and your mindset isn't necessarily bad, but you don't need more of it. What I mean by that is this. Thinking positively over and over again can lead you into delusion if you take no action. We need the right process. We need to think life through where we're at. Because you remember, through your life, if you constantly do this, you're evolving. Every single day you're getting better and growing. But we need the right process. So we need to think things through, yes. But once you've thought things through for long enough, say you create that plan, but you need to actually take action. Because it's in the action where you start learning, okay, this works. That didn't quite work. Why doesn't that work, and why did this work? And you can ask questions like, is this still who I am? Does this align with who I am right now? And in terms of identity and who you are, more will be revealed through the action you take, and you will learn about who you truly are. So it's having the right combination is going to allow you to continually grow, and also to not fall into the trap that I fell into, that you end up getting stuck in your own head, thinking you're being so productive, and then you look at your life and you're like, well, nothing's changed. Nothing will change unless you take action and make changes happen. You don't need more insight, do you? What you do need is you need alignment between what you think and the action you take every day.